Okay, so one of the common things also in residency interviews is asking you about a mistake. And it's not only residency, like this is a very common question. Usually like many companies ask the people who are applying for jobs about a mistake. So they might ask you this question in different ways. So tell us about a time when you made an error in the medical care you gave to a patient. What happened? Tell us about a mistake. What is your biggest failure? Tell me about a time when you failed and what did you do? So this question comes in different flavors, but make sure you are prepared for it. Don't say the following. I missed the deadline to submit a paper because one of the people that I work with did not do the analysis during the appropriate deadline. Don't blame anyone else. I did not do any mistakes. Yes, true. One time I gave a patient extra dose of X medication and unfortunately they passed away. Like, also don't talk about mistakes that the result was like a disaster. If you've done this mistake, I don't know what to do, but like, don't put yourself in a situation where you destroy your interview and you raise signals for red flags. What are they looking for? They want to see a candidate who is self-aware. They realize when they do a mistake. They want to see a candidate who is accountable. Yes, they can admit their own mistake. They don't blame someone else. Like, you're a human being, and working in the medical system can be very challenging. Mistakes happen. Its medical system is so complex. Like, mistakes usually don't happen in other industries like factories, airline industries, because they go through a checklist and they are very vigorous. Unfortunately, in medicine, lots of mistakes can happen. Unfortunately, despite many efforts, despite many tries to minimize the mistakes, lots of people unfortunately suffer from those mistakes because the medical system is very complex. Taking care of patients is very complex. There are many phases and many people who are involved in taking care of one person. So mistakes unfortunately still happen. So they want a candidate who's accountable and they can admit their own mistakes. Because if you can admit your mistake, that means you care about your patient more than you care about your own reputation. And I made mistakes by myself. Like sometimes I'm on call and I admit patients, and then the next day I'm reviewing with staff and they ask me, oh, did you ask this? I don't come up with an answer saying, oh yeah, I asked the patient. No, I say no, I forgot to ask about one of the differential diagnoses. Or even one time I remember I did not order antibiotic for one of the patients I admitted overnight. Thanks God they were stable and they already got one dose of antibiotic by the emerge staff. And second day when I was reviewing, I just remembered that I did not order antibiotic and I told the staff right away, oh, Dr. K, I did not order the antibiotic, let's order them together. I'm sorry for that. And he was, it's okay. He was like, because those things can happen. And I admitted my mistake right away. And I apologized right away. And unfortunately, yeah, mistakes can happen, but admit them. Because I do care about the patient more than I care about I do care about my reputation, don't get me wrong. But I also care about making sure that every patient takes the appropriate medication that they are on. And also what they are looking for is how you're going to learn, they are looking for a candidate who can learn from their own mistakes and how you will act differently next time, how you're going to change your approach to an issue next time. So let's take this example. So I wrote this answer in the STAR technique. So the situation. During the first month of residency, I was part of one of the internal medicine teams. We had around 30 patients and 5 residents on the team. The first several months were a great learning experience. However, it was very busy and a bit overwhelming because I had to learn new medical system and see several patients every day. One day, my staff asked me to discharge a patient who was taking apixaban for atrial fibrillation. He was admitted for urosepsis and hematuria. We had to hold the apixaban initially to ensure his hemoglobin was stable. However, his admission was short and he improved after a couple of days and was started on ciprofloxacin and was ready to be discharged home. After preparing the discharge summary, I did not restart apixaban, and I missed that apixaban was a home medication. Hence, I did not order it, which was not part of his discharge medications. Luckily, just before signing the orders, my staff wanted to review the patient's medications, and he was able to catch the mistake and start the patient again on apixaban. I learned from this mistake that discharging patients can be a complex task. The same day, I went home, and I started reading and reviewing the literature about medical errors and how to minimize them. I found that simple tools like checklists can be very helpful in minimizing medical errors. Since then, I have developed a checklist for discharge, and one of the items is comparing pre-admission meds to the discharge medications. This helped me to avoid mistakes and to make sure to go through the discharge process systematically. Look at this answer. So you can imagine the situation, you can imagine how busy it is when they talk about the situation. You can see that although this is a medical mistake, but the candidate developed a way to overcome this mistake. And this is really important. I hear lots of answers like, so when I interview people, like many people talk about medical errors. And they forgot to put this order in the discharge medication, or they forgot to put this medication. And when they talk about the result, they always say, oh, I made sure to be more careful. Like, okay, so that's a good answer. It's not something that's going to break your interview, and you are more aware. And that's how like many people develop their awareness in residency. You make a mistake, unfortunately, you learn from it, and the next time just become more aware, more cautious, and you just get used to the things that you have to review. But very few people tell me about a systematic way they developed to prevent mistakes from happening. And also, when it comes to mistakes, you can answer them in different ways. So you can talk about medical mistake. Also, I think my own opinion is you can talk about mistakes on a personal level. And when I did my interviews, my answer is very personal. I'm not going to share this. But at one point in my life, I lost self-confidence. I was going through a difficult situation, and I lost self-confidence, and then I was able to overcome this. As cliche as it sounds, if you don't believe in yourself, no one will do. So that's the mistake that I talked about in my residency interviews. It's something very personal, and it's something it touched me on the personal level, and I was able to overcome this. It was not easy process. So if you have a non-medical mistake and you want to share and you learn from it, and it was a deep learning experience, go ahead. In my opinion, I think that's a good way to approach this question. Also, you can ask the interviewer, oh, are you asking for a medical error or a non-medical error? If you have example for both, good job.